Hello, and welcome to Kitchen Car Talk with your host, Tone Vase. And say hi, Jimmy-san.
Hi, I'm Mike in space. No, I'm just kidding. I'm in my car because the house cleaners are at my house. So I kind of get kicked out. So sorry about that. Yeah, in case you're wondering, this the van that I have. You can see the DVD player that my kids watch. Yeah, so yeah, I'm in the passenger seat. I'm just waiting until the house cleaners get out, and I get to do this show with Tone in the meantime.
Yeah, and I decided to get out of my living room in the firehouse that I'm staying at because it had no windows. So I'm in the kitchen and a portion of the bathroom. So you can see like the giant bathtub. It's actually hilarious what the bathroom looks like in my apartment here in DC. Maybe I'll do that at the very end.
Yeah, that
Um,
that looks like an old-fashioned bathtub, man. Like that's
oh, it
that's what
is,
I'm
man.
seeing.
It is. Check this out.
Yeah.
That's the sink. See that giant sink? Hold on
Uh-huh.
there. Again, it's a firehouse.
I see. I
So
see. So yeah,
it's a
yeah,
sink for
the
like four. It's
LED.
a sink for like four people at the same time.
Hey, Tone, did you tweet this thing by the way? I want to
I did.
retweet it. Okay,
I did. I just
let me
didn't. I
find.
didn't tag you because I tweeted it 15 minutes ago, and I didn't know you were going to come
Oh,
around.
all right. Here, let me go find it, and then I'll retweet it because it's important.
Yeah, because I tweeted it out, and then I texted you. I'm like, oh shit, you know what? Maybe Jimmy's in his car doing nothing, and boom, there you are.
All right, let's see. This is the pin tweet. Yep. All right. And I am retweeting. All right, there we go. All right. So it's retweeted to my followers. Hopefully they can go take a look. Anyway.
All right,
Ah,
let's get the show on the road. Let's talk about a little bit of news. I'll mention my website after. So of course, my pop-up blocker, which I deactivated, is still not happy with the website. But the point of the website is that Bitmain is wants to ruin Ethereum. So I love the news. What are your thoughts on this?
well, so people have been going to these like memory hard hashing algorithms in order to prevent ASICs. But what we're finding out with this news is that Bitmain's figured out a way to incorporate DRAM into ASICs, which means that memory hardness doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to prevent ASICs. So what this means is that Ethereum, and many others that are using all of these memory hard or difficult to ASIC algorithms, well, they're still going to get overtaken by ASICs. And I mean, it's not going to be like a million times speed boost that like a normal ASIC gets over like a CPU for like double SHA-256. But algorithms like Cuckoo Cycle and others that are supposedly memory hard, um, it's still going to be ASIC, and NVIDIA better be paying attention because all your revenue that you're getting from cryptocurrency mining is going to start going flow towards Bitmain, just because that's that they're going to eat your lunch if you don't get into ASIC mining yourself.
And the other thing that I always, you know what, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
let's stop share screen. So the other thing that I've always been fascinated with is this arrogance of Vitalik Buterin that it'll be so easy to flip a switch and put Ethereum on proof of stake.
Hmm.
What does that mean for that initiative, you think?
Well, so I don't know. It might strengthen his argument, I guess, go towards proof of stake. I never understood proof of stake. I did a video just like
Well,
a
no
few
one with
days
half a
ago.
brain, Jimmy. Nobody with half a brain understands proof of stake. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I mean, I told people why I thought it was stupid, and that like proof of work is really the thing that you want, and it's at least transparent, whereas proof of stake is not, and there are all these problems, including stake grinding and things like that. And just from an economic standpoint, if something gives you a reward of 12 and a half Bitcoins and you move to proof of stake, it doesn't mean that it means that somebody's going to be willing to spend 12 and a half Bitcoins to go get those. So it just doesn't make sense from any perspective, and there are many problems with proof of stake. But that said, yeah, I mean, Vitalik's been wanting to go towards proof of stake because I think it makes him feel good. And this is one of my objections to proof of stake is that you don't really know where the effort and energy and all that are coming from. Whereas with proof of work, you know exactly where it's coming from. people just feel better about it because the last step happens to not use a lot of electricity, although many steps before it might. So, kind of like an electric car in that way, people feel good about driving an electric car because the last step doesn't have as many emissions. But where does the electricity going into your car come from? It could come from a power plant, coal power plant, and like pollute the environment way more than the gasoline that's coming out of a gas car. So it's one of those things that in economics where economics is a science of like, well, it's not a science, but it's figuring out what's unseen, and this is one of those things where people don't really see the effects of it, and Vitalik sort of is, I think, more left leaning and sort of buys into this kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't think proof of stake is that useful, and I think miners will resist going towards it.
Yeah, well, I said it. I mean, I said it over a year ago now. I mean, the moment Ethereum Classic came out, I immediately like coined the term ETW ticker, right? Because Ethereum is going to fork again when Vitalik goes proof of stake, and there's going to be an he kind of has a lockdown on ETH being whatever Vitalik says it is, but I don't see why the miners would want to walk away from that giant reward, especially if they're spending all this money on mining gear. So the miners are going to have their own leaders, anti-Vitalik leaders that are going to convince all of these ICOs that it will be safer for them to stay on the Ethereum work chain. So I'm fully expecting another giant hard fork out of Ethereum, and one will be ETH and one will be ETW, and ETW is going to stand for Ethereum work. I've been saying this for years, and I'm still expecting that outcome one day.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, especially with a lot of these ICOs, because once it splits, you're going to have tokens on both. And is your ICO token on Ethereum worth more than the one on Ethereum work, or how's that going to work? And each coin is basically going to have to say, okay, the one on Ethereum or Ethereum work is legitimate, and the other one is not. Like there are lots of little things like that you have to think about, and most of these are centrally controlled, so they can do that, right? Like
it's going to be a total cluster of.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be a crazy scenario, and some people might go over, and especially if somebody figures out a way to stake grind or something like that, and maybe manage to double spend something on the staking side, then that's going to cause a lot of people to
right.
go over.
And if only someone still had the ability to download the entire Ethereum chain to actually back up what they're doing,
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
I can't wait for that giant implosion. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. We have one more story before we get into the rest of what we wanted to talk about. And an apartment building in Dubai with 50 apartments, though that picture is terrible because that looks like a 3,000 apartment building.
It is a 3,000 apartment building. They allocated only 50.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense then.
You want to share the screen or no?
Oh no! Oh, my bad. Yeah, because I'm looking at it now. Now I look like an idiot. Oh yeah, and it says it right there. 50 out of 1,300 apartments. Yeah, and they sold all 50. Not bad. Actually, I don't know. Is it bad because they don't really give you unless they provided the dates, right? I mean, they totally could have got screwed on this if they sold most of those apartments when Bitcoin price was double current price.
Yeah, I 15 to 45 Bitcoins. That's right now like 140,000 and 400,000, something like that. That actually sounds kind of reasonable in many parts of the country, except it's in Dubai, of course. And I don't know what the real estate market in Dubai is like, but it does show that a lot of people want to utilize Bitcoin or do transactions in Bitcoin for large purchases like this. And that way they don't have to go through the stringent AML KYC laws and get slippage on exchanges or get eaten by fees or whatever.
Wait, hold on a second here. Buying an apartment, it doesn't matter if you pay with Bitcoin or dollars, bank wires, or cows. You have to register that apartment in somebody's name. So there's
right, but you have to do it in Dubai. Whereas if you want to cash out, you might have to go and register for Coinbase or Kraken or something like that. So having less steps to do and like just being able to pay for it directly, I imagine is a big um, benefit of doing that. And then, they can take care of converting it to fiat if they wanted to, which I imagine they did.
All right. So anything more to say on this? I mean, it's good. The only question is, I didn't really read the details of the article. Is the contractor planning to hold on to that Bitcoin, or was this just a ploy to get in the news and immediately convert that Bitcoin to fiat? So the only thing
Yeah.
is, like, if you know that your contractor that's selling you the apartment will immediately convert to fiat, please don't pay for that apartment in Bitcoin. I mean, you could if you want to get rid of your Bitcoin at a high price, but in general, like, I only like spend my Bitcoin when I know the person I'm sending Bitcoin to is someone that wants to hold on to that Bitcoin and is not someone that's only doing it to immediately convert to fiat. That's
Yeah,
my
I mean,
personal thing.
people are gonna sell for all sorts of reasons. I'm for whatever people want to do with Bitcoin. I do agree though that when you have uh something like that, you get a lot of selling pressure. Although, I don't think it's enough selling pressure to actually matter that much.
All right, so let's move on to one final topic, which we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday, and that's of course Jimmy Song in the news. Like, I had no idea. Like you and I weren't doing podcast that morning, and all of a sudden, like, I'm seeing you all over the news. I'm like, man, Jimmy Song is like really important. That it like hit every single. Like, I was waiting for it to like show up on Bloomberg, like in the on TV, like Jimmy Song joins blockchain capital. I mean, that were you a little surprised by the media
Well, I
over
mean,
that?
I think Blockchain Capital like hired a PR firm and everything, and I was like, You want to hire what? Like, you're gonna make this kind of a big deal?" They're like, "Yeah, it's important, and we want to up your profile and all that stuff." So, yeah, I mean, I was as surprised as you when I saw this article on CoinDesk. I think they just like sort of picked it up from the PR newswire as did several other Bitcoin publications and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I made a video on exactly why I joined, and if you haven't seen it, basically, the reason I joined Blockchain Capital is because they want sort of a bridge to the open source community. I think we all know kind of how the New York agreement turned out, and that was sort of disastrous. So this is sort of an attempt to be a little bit more humble and sort of approaching the open source community and figuring out what ways in which the business community can sort of support the open source community, and how all of these projects that are out there can get supported both financially and with developer power. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, and we've been doing a lot of listening. We've been talking to a lot of developers. We've been talking to a lot of especially from Core. We've been talking to Adam back from Blockstream a lot. We're going to talk to some people at Chain Code Labs. But basically, the way they approached me was, "Hey, we totally respect your work, and we want to sort of contribute to the open source Bitcoin community, but we don't really know how. And like we feel like you would be a good person to sort of be that bridge and help us to understand like what is it that the open source community needs. They're obviously Blockchain Capital is obviously a venture capital firm, and there's about like 60 portfolio companies that Blockchain Capital has, and those companies want to support open source development too, and but they just don't know where to go, how to do it, what's going to be seen as like bad, what's going to be seen as good. So that's more or less sort of my role, is to figure out, okay, how can businesses and venture capitalists and stuff just help contribute to the open source community. And we're probably gonna open some sort of office where like open source developers can just sort of hang out and code and things like that. We want to provide as much support as we can, some of it financial, some of it maybe not financial, but more in terms of communication. Hey, Coinbase, here's how you do SegWit, that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, that's sort of the idea, and that's why I'm there. And it's an exciting new thing, and I wouldn't have joined if it wasn't sort of very good for Bitcoin as I conceived of it. And the minute it stops being good for Bitcoin, I think I would quit. But that's where I am.
All right, cool. No, that sounds awesome. So the initial office is probably going to be where? Is it going to be in San Fran? Is it going to be in LA? Because I know Brock has ties to LA and now Puerto Rico, and
Oh
you're
no,
out
no.
in
So
Texas.
I mean, Brock was a partner for the first three funds. He's no longer with Blockchain Capital.
Oh, he's not.
No,
So who are the partners of Blockchain Capital now? I still thought it was Brock. I had no idea.
no. It's Bart and Brad Stevens and Spencer Bogart. It's the four of us. So
Oh,
it's
okay. I see. I see.
yeah. So
Um,
and Bart and Brad have been in the space for a while. You might not have.
no, with them, I'm actually familiar with one of them more. I think I met one of them. I don't know if I met them both. Um, but they're based out of LA, right? Or
No,
San
they're
Fran?
based out of San Francisco. So
They're out of
the
San Francisco. Okay.
office, well, some sort of lab that we're thinking about that would probably be in San Francisco, and then if it's successful, we'd probably have one in Austin. That's where I am, and then maybe one in Europe or something like that. But the idea is to support developers and support open source development, and not just like core development. But there's one of the things that we're finding out from just listening to a lot of developers is that a lot of these open source libraries that are on that sort of are a little bit outside of core, but very useful, like Bitcoin J or PyCoin or, well, not PyCoin in particular, but like BTCD and all of these libraries that a lot of these businesses and open source projects use, they've kind of fallen into disrepair in large part because there aren't developers that are willing to contribute because they've been doing it for free for so long and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that that stuff gets funded and has developers and maybe we hook up some of our portfolio company developers into those projects and, figure out a way to make sure that the ecosystem is healthy and thriving instead of, some of these tools kind of falling into disrepair.
No, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, can't wait to check out if you have a Texas-based office. I've been dying to go back there. It'd be great. Have a little office to work out of for a couple of days. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
all right. So yeah, no, that's about it. I know a lot of my followers were curious, so it's good to get that out there. You have any? So you haven't approached any developers yet, right? You just but I'm sure you've already gotten emails about it. Like other people are interested, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely talking to developers. The other component that I should mention is that we want to be like a big part of the education portion of the space as well. So, for example, there's only like 9 Lightning developers right now in the world, and that needs to change, right? We need to train more Lightning developers and stuff, and especially given that we have a lot of portfolio companies that are going to want to, utilize a lot of this technology. We want that space to become sort of like an education space as well. So you can bring in a lot of the core devs and other people that are very into Bitcoin development in there and have them sort of like teach a lot of the companies. We want this to be a very collaborative thing and not just sort of like businesses dictating to developers. That never works out well. So
Well,
yeah.
no, I was gonna say one final note is just if you're going for outside funding, be very, very careful, and God forbid a financial institution donates you $1. I mean, that whole Blockstream thing in AXA was totally ridiculous. Now Blockstream lost Gregory Maxwell, and you know what pisses me off now the most about Blockstream losing Gregory Maxwell is that the same these same bad actors that started all of this FUD and bullshit about how AXA is controlling Blockstream and Blockstream is the Borg of the crypto space and they're going to take over. Now that people like Gregory Maxwell are leaving Blockstream, probably because they don't want to deal with this bullshit, now those same people are talking about how Bitcoin is falling apart because Blockstream is falling apart.
I
So
don't.
now
I
they've
don't.
swung it in the opposite direction, and now they're accusing Bitcoin of not having its shit together because Gregory Maxwell has left Blockstream. I mean, this is like frustrates me to no end, man.
Well, no, I mean, Gregory, I think him leaving and doing his own thing is great. I want him to do his own thing because Greg's going to he's a known contributor to Bitcoin. I did a whole video on Taproot and how exciting that was. I'm probably going to do another one on Graftroot, extension of Taproot. That's really cool too. But I want him to work on the stuff that he thinks is best for Bitcoin, because I believe him to have the best interests of Bitcoin at heart. So, I like if leaving Blockstream like frees him up a little more to do Bitcoin stuff, then I'm all for that. But I don't know. I'm not too worried about the FUD and all of these people that are sort of accusing Blockstream of being the Bork or whatever. I mean, accusations are cheap, right? Like they're a dime a dozen. You can make them anytime you want, and that's kind of the power of accusations in the first place. But the thing is, the more you accuse and the more your accusations are unfounded, the less power you have. So over the long term, those people are gonna just keep crying wolf, and then next thing you know, you're not really relevant anymore, which is why you have to be very careful about making accusations. But it's a long term thing. It sucks short term for some people, but at least in my opinion, it'll be okay. Where it makes everything more anti fragile for Bitcoin.
Right. And oh man, I'm looking for that tweet. I guess I have to go to my messages to you. Yeah, so right before, I know people are antsy about the price and stuff, but where is it? Hold on. I tweeted at you yesterday. Yeah, so someone sent this tweet at me. I'm going to share a screen in a second here. There it is. I thought this tweet was absolutely hilarious, but I don't know how real it is. So someone was joking around. So apparently someone named their Lightning node. Apparently someone named their Lightning node Roger Ver. It is like the only Lightning node that no one is connecting to. So obviously this isn't Roger Ver. This is like somebody just put that name on their Lightning node. And man, I got to get my Lightning node up. I got to come up with a really creative name. I need to have
Yeah,
more
yeah.
than one.
I have
Man, like,
everything set up to go like sell my cheat sheets on
dude, how do I like? I don't know what I'm doing yet. Like, how do I get a Tone Lightning node before some scammer gets it, man?
Yeah. So I really need to go and set mine up too, so I can sell some stuff. I have like a drop shipper and everything, like ready to go. I just need to go and set this up. I just haven't gotten around to it. Maybe I'll take a look later today and set something up.
Well,
But
like
yeah,
I really hope this is real. Like I have no idea. Like I don't have the technical competency to like prove or disprove this graphic. Like I'm not even sure exactly what's going on there. But
I
if
mean,
this is
it's
true, this
hard
is
to tell
great.
because people can more or less lie if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless Roger Ver signs with like a known key or something, it's gonna be
Right. No, it's obviously not him. It's somebody else
uh,
joking around, but I just thought it was funny.
it
All
is.
right, let's get to the price. I know people have been wanting to hear that. Again, quick disclaimer, please learn trading. Like the tweets that I do, the stuff that I talk about, it's pretty advanced. If you're trying to gauge me for your buy and sell signals, that's a terrible idea. You're probably just going to lose all your money. So the stuff that I talk about in my trading relates to section 6 of my educational tools, learn trading. I expect people to be experts at section 1 to 5. For additional information, please check out the consulting section of my website, which now looks like this. What the hell is that?
That looks like where are you supposed to use HTTPS or something? Oftentimes, it
I
comes with
have no
caveats
idea
like
what
that.
just happened to my website.
Yeah, it might be like it's confused about what protocol it's using. It that happens sometimes.
What do you mean
Um,
sometimes? But this page works. Is my whole website like that now?
I don't know. It might be just that link actually. I don't know. It's debugging a website can be hard.
Let me
Xfinity.
try one more time.
All right, let's see.
Jesus Christ! Now I gotta become a web. Now I gotta become a web developer.
If you run a website, that's more or less what you have to do, man.
I know. What the hell happened to my website? Like I had to. Yeah, here we go. Now it's working.
Yeah, so I think maybe there were a couple of bad
All right.
things there or something.
Anyway, all good. Yeah, so go ahead. Please check out these links on my website. I will try to become a better web developer and do a better job. And yes, my website looks like 1990, late 90s on purpose. That's correct. That's a perfect throwback.
It looks like a
All right, let's talk.
GeoCities website to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, I remember that. All right, so let's talk about the price of Bitcoin. So here's the weekly chart. The weekly chart looks great. I had this little yellow line right here, and all I was looking for from this week is for us to go above last week's high. Last week's high was at $9,090. So the moment we broke 9,100, it immediately told me, boom, we're gonna go up to 10K. Now, I am expecting 10K to be somewhat of formidable resistance, or at least somewhat of resistance. We are now sitting at exactly 10K. Now, I did tweet out last night that, hey, the 4-hour chart is coming up on a 9 sell, which is a good indication to take some profits for at least a 1 to 4 candle correction and then possibly going to the upside. Now, the 1 hour was already giving you a caution sign a few hours before the 4-hour candle was going to do it. I wanted to stay up till 4 in the morning to actually see this 9. As you can see, there was 43 minutes left in that candle, and it was already like past 3 a.m. So I was, done. I had to go to bed eventually. So what happened on that 4-hour chart? Well, the 4-hour chart hit a 9 and immediately sold off. Now, the sell-off, if you timed this trade correctly, the high of that candle was just under 10,000, which is exactly where you want to take your profit or potentially take a stab at a short trade right under the round numbers as we're coming up into the round numbers. So in this case, we were going up into 10,000. So selling at 99.50 would have been perfect. Okay. Now, how far did this candle fall? This candle fell to 94.70. Now, I of course expected it to go a little bit lower. I was looking for a bigger pullback, maybe all the way down to 9,000, and then reevaluate. The pullback was not as strong as I anticipated, though I wasn't specific about the pullback, but in my mind, I was anticipating a slightly bigger pullback. This is where your stop loss comes in handy. If you did take your profit off of this trade or potentially went short, there was definitely, it fell enough for you not to lose money on the trade. Now, I'm not saying you would have made money on this trade, but definitely you should not have lost money on this trade, okay? Now, what happens on the flip side? I still think 10,000, which is exactly where we at this second on Bitfinex. I still think there is a big resistance cluster here. Now, traditional numerical indicator, and please go to my website to learn what these numbers are all about. If you claim you've traded for 10 years, technically, and you've never seen the system before, that's fine. You could have been a very profitable trader, but Wall Street absolutely knows this system, which is where I learned it. So according to my rules of this style of trading, if you take your profit on a 9 or attempt to go, short on a 9, everything gets completely flipped over once your new 2 starts trading above a 1. So even if you were holding out with your stop loss above this candle with the top of this 9 candle, you technically your stop loss off the 9 is right there. This is an automatically generated line. I think it's way too loose. You do have the 200 period 4-hour moving average right here, which could also act as resistance. Now, what's acting in your bullish favor is the move off of this cup handle, and that move should be a $3,000 up move. I just don't think we're going to get it all at once. I think there is still resistance in this cluster between 10,000 and 10,200. So keep an eye on that. But technically, according to this indicator, you can go back into your bullish trade now that the 2 has started trading above the 1. The aggressive 13 didn't seem to actually do much. So you just have to, be aware of that. Now, the one slight wrinkle into this, and I also pointed it out on my tweet, is this situation here. Now, there's 2 things to keep an eye on the daily chart. first of all, the daily chart is where the 10,000 resistance is very, very clear. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of support around 10,000. So therefore, it should act as resistance. It doesn't have to, but I think that it statistically should. Now, you do have a 2 candle trading above the 1 candle, giving you a setup for 7 more days of upside. However, I hate seeing these one-off price flips because the difference between this low and this high is not much. I mean, the close of this candle was 85.11, and the close of this candle on 2/9 on February 9th, the close of that candle was 86.78, and the close on February 13th was 85.11. So that's a $150 difference on a $9,000 asset. So that's how close you were from this candle being a 6 of 9, making yesterday a 7, today an 8, and tomorrow a potential 9. This is the problem with Bitcoin that you have to be aware of, that I never had to deal with in commodities or in equities, because these numbers were pretty perfect and all of Wall Street was looking at the same numbers. So just taking this with a grain of salt, that there's a potential 9 on the daily tomorrow, even though you're not actually going to see it. So just something to keep an eye on. Therefore, right now you have reasons to go long and you have reasons to be cautious. Okay, I would be a little more cautious as a trader. If you're a holder, you're in very good shape. And finally, on the 1 hour chart, you did have this 9. It came a little bit earlier than the 4 hour 9. You did have a sell-off timed with a 4 hour 9. And once the 1 hour chart, once again, once you had a candle with a green 2 4 hours ago, start trading above the candle with a green 1, you are back in this trade on the hourly charts. We are on a 5 of 9 with a 9, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a 9 should be coming at 4 p.m. Eastern time, assuming we're going to keep going up. You're also close to a 13 from this 9. Aggressive should show up earlier. And so far, things are bullish. A glance at the S&P 500, you're pushing the limits of a rebound off the 9, right? You have a 1 to 4 day correction and then reevaluate. So the S&P 500 is coming up into its 50-day moving average from the bottom. And this is what I said a few days ago. So you really want to be careful right here with the S&P 500. And if you did take this bounce trade, this is the perfect time to take your profit. If we can break out with some volume above the 50-day moving average, you can always get back into the S&P trade. But this is where you really want to be a little cautious on your S&P trade. Quick look at the mempool. Jimmy, let's wake you up there for a second. Let's listen, guys. Please don't give Jimmy a hard time. We get like 1,000 messages a day, and the price thing is my specialty. So this is his chance to check his messages, which is exactly what I would be doing if Jimmy was like talking about programming right now. So mempool is starting to tick up a little bit, but your transactions are still incredibly cheap.
It's all 0 to 1 Satoshi transactions, so don't worry about it.
Right. So again, this is my metric of how do I know how much to pay. Once I know it's not the best website, but I really like this metric. But though it's like not pulling up on me. But yeah, if you send your transactions with 5 to 10 satoshis per byte, you would do great. You'll get them in the next block. That's about it for me, unless you want to say something. I mean, I do have my friend Corey here that I think is gonna mine for a few questions for me. Corey, if you're with me and you want to throw a question or two in there, otherwise we've been going for about 35 minutes. So we'll see. You got anything else to add, Jimmy?
I don't think so. I mean, the mempool's been nice and clean, and it continues to be so. I imagine that will be pretty good for a while. I wonder how much Jihan regrets moving only to Bitcoin Cash for buying miners.
I
We'll
heard
see.
he's accepting wire transfers now.
Okay, so possibly that might be the better way to do it. But yeah, we'll be watching, and we'll see where all of this goes.
All right. Let me just glance through the live chat. Doesn't look like I'm getting some questions here. A few tips. Uh, Someone is asking, when will we get back to all-time highs? Guys, I honestly don't know. Like, I have no
That's the
idea.
only thing people care
I
about. Is
know,
when
I
are we gonna
know.
get when
Um,
moon? When moon?
I know. Well, look, it's impossible for me to say, right? I mean, I'm bringing videos to you every day. With every single hour, I have new data to consider of where we're going. And right now, I'm pretty bullish, except I am watching this $10,000 resistance. Now, if we get rejected from the 10,000, I'm going to be watching how low we can go and then reevaluate. If we start to go if we go back below 8,000 and approaching 7,000, I might set my targets on a lower low than 6K. If we get rejected at 10,000, only fall to 9,000, and then start to approach 10,000 again and break it, that's it. I mean, my 6,000 low will probably be it for the year. And now I'll be looking at new all-time highs. I think the picture would be clear in about a month or two. But right now, it's impossible to say. We could close the year at 100K. We could also close the year at 1,300. We're at a pretty pivotal point where nobody knows if full capitulation after the $20,000 bubble has already happened or not. Like, we just don't know. The Tether question mark is still with us. I'm expecting that to fully implode sometime this year. And what kind of effects that will have on the ecosystem, we don't know. The US government regulations on cryptocurrency and ICOs, we don't know. The Ethereum cluster, I'm trying not to curse too much, of proof of stake versus proof of work should finally come to a head this year. You think, Jimmy?
I think something's gonna happen. We don't know what. But yeah, let's see if yeah, Vitalik has can manage that.
Right. I
Because
mean, and
the main guy.
I'm very optimistic about Lightning, but look, let's be honest here. Something can go totally wrong with that whole initiative, right?
Hmm.
Like, we just don't know. There's just so many like known unknowns, and these are all known unknowns. Forget the unknown unknowns, right? Like this is what we know is going to happen. Now, the good news is there's no ETF announcements from the SEC anytime soon that I know of, and there's no halving anytime soon that I know of, right? So these known knowns are not with us to add wrinkles to the price movement. But yeah, but there's enough stuff that can really go either way. Um, Let me see.
Yeah.
Maybe if I see like one good question, maybe I'll grab it. Uh, Question. Okay. The longer we stay below 10,000, the stronger the breakout. Correct. That's correct. But to be a little more specific, it's not the longer we stay below 10,000, because like if we fall down to like 3K, we're still below 10,000, right? So that's a badly phrased statement. The longer we stay below 10,000 and in the vicinity of 10,000, the stronger the breakout. So that's how you want to think about.
You want a breakout triangle basically.
Right. You want to start forming an ascending triangle. Like we already have a bunch of lower lows, and you want to start forming flat highs at 10,000 and higher lows. So you want to fall to 9K, go back to 10. You want to fall to 95, go back to 10. You want to fall to 98, go back to 10, and then break out. That's the ideal perfect trade from a statistical perspective.
Mm.
Okay.
Indeed.
Somebody wants me to check the Ethereum price. Maybe
Ah,
next time.
yeah, nah.
Someone says if you compare to other bubbles, they had another hard drop to lower levels after the first crash down. How likely do you think is this to happen for Bitcoin as well? Well, this is the big question mark, right? I agree with you. There's always the second drop. The question is, was the first drop to 7,500 that people told me wasn't going to happen, and I was positive it was going to happen. And then we had a second drop down to 6,000, which rebounded even stronger. So the question is, was the drop from 8,000 to 6,000 the second drop, or was that the true first drop with another bigger drop coming? And the answer is nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Someone says, oh, good question for you, Jimmy. What benefit do I get from setting up my own Lightning node?
You can go and pay people like in Lightning. So you can. There aren't that many things for sale.
Well, wait a minute. Hey, I need clarification on that, right? Do I need to have a Lightning node in order to pay people through Lightning?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, because the only way you can pay anyone is by having a channel, and you can't have a channel unless you have a node.
But do you need your own node, or you can use someone else's?
You need your own node. And you can connect to somebody else's node, and that can be sort of your main conduit to the entire network. But you need your own node.
Oh, wow. So every single person might actually need a Lightning node.
Yeah, that's and a Lightning wallet is basically going to set up a node for you and then manage your keys.
But are those okay? So if I get a Lightning wallet, do I actually have my own node, or is it like an SPV kind of thing, and I'm sharing that node?
I believe it's your own node. I don't know. I haven't played with Lightning wallets, but most likely it's your own node.
Shit. So we're gonna have infinite number of Lightning nodes.
A lot of them. The nice thing is nobody needs to know about other nodes, right? Like you only need to know about nodes that you're connected to and the ones that you're paying to or receiving payment from.
And this is technologically a good thing?
Yeah, because I mean, it's Bitcoin. You have to, whenever you send a transaction, everyone needs to know about it. And if it's going to get into the blockchain. If with Lightning, you only need to send it to the people that need to know. That's why it enhances privacy. It's only on a need to know basis.
All right, very cool. All right, I think on that note, we will call it a day, and I'll try to bring you another one of these tomorrow morning. We'll check on Jimmy's availability probably in 3 minutes prior to the show. Things have been a little erratic. Again, I am actually still on the road. Those of you that joined this podcast a little bit later, and wow, I have over 2,000 live viewers.
Wow.
Check out the first 3 seconds. I tried being funny, but yeah, Jimmy's in his car. I'm in the kitchen of the firehouse. You can see the bathroom in the firehouse. Ironically, you have to go through the kitchen to get to the bathroom. You can see that old school bathtub. So it's actually pretty cool. And that's that's what the sink looks like.
The super duper deep sink. Yeah.
Yeah. So with 3 different faucets. So this is actually pretty cool. That's kind of like that.
How did you get an Airbnb at a firehouse? I
didn't so basically, it's a historic firehouse that was no longer active, and it went up for sale actually. So someone bought it, and they turned it into a couple of Airbnb apartments on the second floor. I mean, a firehouse generally has places for people to sleep anyway. So upstairs there's a couple of one-bedroom apartments. And the downstairs is they're turning it into a big loft where the big fire trucks were and stuff like that.
You need a fireman hat,
cool.
Man. You need a fireman hat with a Bitcoin symbol. That's what.
Yeah. All right. On this note, we will call it a day, and see you all on the next one. Good luck trading, guys.
This song is done.